Hey guys, this is my best friend Holly. She's got some old faded microblading, and today we are going to do her annual touch-up, and we're going to do it with Pixelblading. And with my double row shader, we're going to get that underline so crisp and gorgeous. I cannot wait to show you. Hey beautifuls, today we are going to use our Miracle Marker in, I call the color Glow, but it's really like a nude skin color, and our double row pixel shader. I'm so excited to show you. We are going to do some pixel strokes in the center and a few along the top to give it a softness. And other than that, we're going to fill this in with a ton of awesome fullness. So step one with Miracle Markers always, super shake it. You want to hear that little ball in there going. And then I just got an ink ring with rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to go around our design. We just want to remove all oils off the skin so it sticks really well. My Miracle Markers and all products work by adhering to the skin, not staining it. So second step, there's like a little hole right here, and you just want to slowly and firmly press all the way down to where it touches. And then lift. We're going to do it again. So can you see how already there's ink on here? This is actually a little paintbrush. There's little tiny fibers on this tip. So now we're going to use this just to perfect our outline, trace around it so that we hold our design shape. And here is our design. Perfected and ready to be sealed with Map Block. We're just putting a little bit of Seal Me on this inner corner just to help our mapping really be locked in for the procedure. For her pigment, we're going to use my Pixelblading pigment in darkest brown. We're just going to do a few pricks, apply our numbing cream, take that off, and we'll ready, set, go on the procedure. Okay, we're just going to remove her numbing, and I just want to show you quickly from the side angle how thickly this is on the skin. You do want a full like 2 to 3 millimeters, and just really within the outline, the numbness actually spreads upwards and downwards about a ½ inch to an inch, so you don't have to lay it on this thick. Just keep it within your outline, and we'll just go ahead and remove this now. And on this side, we've got our double row pixel shader. The needles are spaced, so it's going to give us a really soft, airy look. And then on this side, we've got our nano pixel blade that we're going to do our strokes in the front and the top with. We're just going to dip into our thick, creamy pigment with our nano blade and just lay in our front strokes first. And again, we are going tapping down and then just a slight flick forward. So kind of down and flick in a J motion. And you're looking for that little tapping sound. Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
I want these front strokes to be pretty spaced and wispy and give some height. If she had less hair, I would do these packed a little bit closer together. I just love doing pixel blading over old microblading because they already have some fullness, and so you can just get some definition. But if they have that fullness where it's kind of healed into like just a soft powderiness, it's kind of hard to in fact, it's basically impossible to get definition with microblading anymore. But you can get texture and definition with pixel blading even on old ink like that. And I'm sure I'll have to reiterate these strokes, but that'll be a good starting point. I'm gonna do just one more. But you guys are going to laugh at how fast and easy this is. Again, we're just pricking in the pigment instead of slicing it in. And I'm just going to do a few kind of strokes along this top area. And I'm keeping these pretty spaced because we are going to shade pretty heavily to give her a lot of definition. But I just want to get a little bit of that illusion of strokes. And you're listening for that click, 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 click. But what really packs that pigment in is that little bit of flick forward. It's not about pressing down. You shouldn't see the skin buckling and pressing down with the pressure of your blade. If it's doing that, you're pressing too hard or don't have enough of a stretch. But since she has very little natural hair on this top area, I do want to put in some actual strokes just to help really give it that like natural hair look. Okay, so that should be perfect for our first pass over here. And then we'll just do this other brow and then we'll get working on our shading. Oh, got a little bit too much pigment on my blade there. I am so bad at working cleanly. That's the only bad thing about me, like showing you guys how to do this stuff. I just really am bad at working cleanly. I'm a painter and it is comical the messes I make when I paint or cook. Oh my gosh, my husband is OCD and I swear he dies every time I cook a meal. Just listening for that click sound. These tall, fluffy strokes are gonna be so bomb. I'm just trying to curve this one. And I always follow their natural brow flow, and I will say that like this brow, the hairs all the way through here are just kind of coming up, where this one started moving and flowing sideways a little bit sooner. So just for a really natural flow, always do your best to follow their natural hair. And she's got more hair on this side, so I don't think we'll have to do quite as much of these, you know, softer pixel strokes on this side. And also I'm not angling these strokes down quite as much because as you see, it is more side flowing than downward flowing on her tails. I always have a different stroke pattern brow to brow because again, I just really focus on following that natural flow. And rarely are two brows flow patterns exactly the same. Brows are like snowflakes. That was really cheesy. we'll just go across these tail ones one more time, and then we'll start in on our shading. So the double row shader, guys, doesn't have the lower teeth, and that's for a reason. The lower teeth kind of stop so that you can't implant the pigment a little bit deeper. Shading is okay to go into the dermis. We do not want our pixel strokes to go into the dermis because otherwise it doesn't heal crisply. So it's important for our pixel blades, when we're doing pixel strokes, to just barely touch that dermis and mainly stay in the epidermis. That's what helps keep the strokes really crisp. But for shading, we can go ahead and do it just a little bit deeper, which will help this double row pixel shading last just a little bit longer, much more closely to like the longevity you're going to get with machine. How cool is that? Okay, so that is perfect for our strokes on this brow. So I might go over these strokes one more time. We'll have to see. But I'm going to go ahead and start my shading process, which means adding just like 2 drops of, I have another ink ring here ready to go, but I just have to mix it. So just 2 drops of a shading solution just to thin this out just a tiny bit, and then we're going to mix it all together. And I am going to shade in the exact same color. If you are doing a full pixel bladed brow and then you want to shade in a lighter color, it can give it like a 2-tone look that is so pretty. But because we are not doing pixel strokes throughout the brow, we want to have the color match obviously top to bottom. So we're going to shade in the exact same color, just a tiny bit diluted, because it's just going to help have that pigment sink down into the stroke. Okay, so let's start on this brow. So how we're going to do this is we're going to follow her flow with this. So you're going to see, but we're going to kind of shade upwards like this. Then we're going to start twisting our blade, moving over, and then kind of side flowing through here, and then down flowing in the tail. So by doing this, we're going to actually have this shading keep a textured look and a hair stroke look almost like but really soft and pigmented. So and if you look at this, sorry, I should have done a up close on this. Let me wipe my blade once again. Holly, how are you? So we're just going to barely touch this into our pigment just like this and get the blade all loaded up, and we're ready to go. So I'm first going to do the underline just to make this really nice and clean. So we're just going to prick, and then start moving along. And you just always want to not prick, completely lift and move and prick. You want to be constantly slightly moving your needle, and that's what keeps it really soft and blended. Like you almost don't prick in the same spot twice. How are you doing paint-wise, lovely?
I'm doing okay. I can't feel it.
Yay! Good. Happy to hear that. Sometimes, because this is working just a tiny bit deeper in the skin, there's a tiny bit of discomfort for more sensitive clients, but by the time you renumb once after the skin has been opened, then you're super good. But most people with my numbing products are, even with this technique, really comfortable, and if they're not, you might be working just a little bit too deep. So just lighten your pressure, at least for that first pass, until you numb them one more time. Okay, we've got our underline done here. So now we'll just start the shading process. So again, through here, I'm going to do it like almost like hair strokes. So we're going to go up, 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 and then I'm starting to curve. Do you see that? Starting to curve. Oh, look at that. Just smeared everything everywhere. Sorry, guys. That never happens. Just kidding. Just listening for that prick, that click, 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 click.
It definitely sounds different than the last time when you did it.
Yeah, so microblading is slicing, and this is pricking. So a lot of people get really creeped out by the slicing sound. You can like hear the scraping, almost like vibrating through your skull. Which is worse for you, like the sound, or is they're both just kind of weird? Or do you have a preference, Holly?
No, but I remember the first time when you did my brows, we just were kind of filling in a few areas that were like
Kind of more sparse.
More sparse, and not knowing what to expect, I could definitely see how someone might be scared or freaked out about it.
Yeah, I have some people have to wear headphones because the slicing like freaks them out, the sound of it. So as you see now, I'm starting to angle this downward and kind of doing a row at a time, and again just constantly moving my blade. This actually should be really good for a first pass on shading. Just gonna do this underline one more time, but I'm gonna clean up underneath this just a little bit just to make sure that I can really see this outline. Great. I really do want this like super clean under here. So you can actually go like this and just lift the brow to get that nice outline. And likely I'll have to do a little bit more to kind of ombre this on second pass to soften this. And you can even just like kind of prick a little bit right through here, turning the blade this way, just to start softening this. Okay, should be our perfect first pass. I'm gonna blot some of this ink off and then apply our secondary numbing. So you want to press and almost twist, and that's how I found it's just like really easy to remove the pigment but still not pull too much of it out, like if you just straight up wipe. And once you get the majority of the pigment off, then you can just go ahead and wipe without pulling your pigment out. So I'm just gonna softly now wipe. Look at all that pigment we have in the skin already. Is that craziness? It's amazing. I want to keep these soft and airy, so we'll have to see. I might not even want to add too much on this second pass, to be honest. I might need to pull off my brow lock so I can really, force of habit, my map lock, so that I can start to remove this outline to kind of check how clean our shape is looking. So now I'm just going to apply our secondary Keep Me Numb. And finish up this other brow. Needle. I'm gonna lift up with my, like, I'm not just using the tip of my pinky, I'm using my whole pinky like this. See, I'm kind of setting it down and then lifting up. I'm just gonna go right along that underline. And again, just constantly moving that blade is what really helps deposit these soft pixel dots, but also just blend it really well. Beautiful. And then we're going to go in the hair stroke flow. So up, up, slowly starting to curve. You can even in your stretch start like this and then kind of twist if you see that motion I'm doing. Isn't that fancy? I'm just continuing to curve, but you can see how on this side it's still moving upwards and then slightly over, where like the other side was really flowing sideways by this point. Now we're moving sideways. Just listening for that prick, still doing that slight flick forward. This also looks just stunning used with microblading. And there are some skin types that microblading is beautiful with. It's honestly maybe 20 to 30% of clients. So, okay, I'm gonna go under our underline just one more time, really lifting this up and freaking along here. Make sure this is really beautifully underlined. And make sure to stretch. Okay, and then we're gonna do that thing where that just kind of softly blends it. Doop, 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 doop. It's a professional term. Oh, look, I'm getting so messy. There we go. It should be blended in beautifully. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna clean her up one second. I guess I'm gonna wipe it all off anyway, but I just want to get one scan. And open for just a second, Holly. Okay, got that done. So now we're just gonna press and twist to blot away our pigment, and then I'll get this brow numbed as well, and we'll get going on our second pass. Okay guys, so here is our first pass. You can actually see those pixel strokes pretty well. They're just blending so good because we followed her natural hair really well. But okay guys, so here's our first pass, and these pixel strokes are actually blending in so well because we followed her natural hair flow, but they are pretty pigmented. I will go over them one more time just to give them a little more pop. And it's kind of like with microblading, training your eye, and turn just a little bit for me towards the wall, training your eye to see them and go over them exactly again. It just takes a little bit of training, but as long as you're following their natural flow, you can't go wrong with these brows. They as you see, they just look so soft and so natural. So I'm going to go over these pixel strokes one more time. I'm going to just give a little bit more pigment right in here, and then we're going to go ahead and peel off our brow lock. I'm sorry, map lock. Man, I have to redo this whole thing. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, eye open again, Holly. I'm so sorry. That was a practice run. Hey guys, so this is our first pass, and our pixel strokes through this top are pretty soft, but that's okay. We want to keep them softer, and in the center, they're actually pretty nice and defined. We followed her natural flow really well, so when the hair's just like up, they're just really soft, but they're actually pretty defined. I am going to go over them just one more time just to give them a tiny bit more pop, but they actually did pretty darn good. And then I'm just going to right in here shade a little bit more, and right in here shade a little bit more, and then this brow will be done. We'll peel off our map lock or our Seal Me from our outline kit, and then I'll show you how to remove our miracle marker, and then we'll just do some perfecting work. I know it looks like I used a new blade. I actually just wiped it with my baby wipe, so it's a little trick to help the ink from drying out on your blade, and then it doesn't implant pigment quite as well. If you have a really hard time seeing these strokes, I recommend using a headlamp. I throw one on second pass sometimes. But I can see these well enough, it's no problem. Just reiterating these one more quick time. And if you can turn towards the wall. The second pass goes real quick. And how nice, our outline is still so there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for strokes on this side. We'll do our strokes on the other side. And just same thing on this side. I'm going to go over these twice because these strokes are just a tiny bit lighter than on the other side. Sometimes the skin on one side to the other is just a little thicker. Sometimes your pressure is a little different. It doesn't really matter as long as you get the pigment balanced. I'm gonna add one more pixel stroke through here. Just do one kind of soft through this top. Okay, oh, that was real messy. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe kind of hard because we want to start, well, first I'm going to blow out just to make sure the pigment stays in the skin. But then I'm going to wipe a little bit firmer because I want to start getting off our map block. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of boop, boop, boop and kind of be firm about it. Just kidding, it'll just still stay really well, of course. And then you can see I didn't blend this underline in as well on the side, so I'm going to work a little bit on that. I'm actually going to do a second row right above it, just right here. And then I'm going to tilt and do these guys. Great. You can see over here in between these two strokes it's a little empty, so I'm gonna add some shading here. And here. And if you can turn, we'll look at this other side. Definitely need a little bit of shading right in here. Now that we've put a light coat, kind of a base coat over the brow, I'm just kind of trying to perfect with this shading in the top areas. So same thing kind of in between these here, in between these here. And then we'll take off our map block and our outline and really get some perfecting work in. Really just make sure that underline is really clean and nice and pigmented. Okay, so once you're ready to remove your map block, the first thing I like to do is just take your pigment and of course go over the brow, but actually purposely put it on top. Pigment usually has a little bit of alcohol to help keep it sterile, and alcohol is what takes off Map Lock and Miracle Marker. So if you kind of scrub over it a little bit, that's just kind of the first step to help easily remove it. You can just start peeling it off too, but this is a little trick that I recently figured out.
Eyebrows like that.
Those look hot. Woohoo! And at the very end, I like to actually add just a tiny bit of A&D. Sometimes I do it at the very, very end. Sometimes I do it now. I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. And I like to do these individual packs of A&D. You can get these on Amazon for super cheap, like $10 for like 50.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so let's go ahead and try to get off, I like how I said try, to get off our Map Lock and outline. Awesome. See, so by putting that ink around there, this is a trick I just figured out, guys. If you do that ink bath, it really helps take everything off. Hallelujah. And see how it just kind of peels off. Yeah, these brows might be done already. I'll look and see if we need to, I'm sure there's a little bit of perfecting work we need to do, but. Easy, easy. And you have to have the ink really set on there for a few minutes to remove it this easy. But at the end of the day, we usually end with an ink mask anyway, so it's not so hard. Yeah, I just want to show you. So like literally see how this is, it peels off, guys. It's like a little, see? Isn't that cool? Can you see that?
Yeah.
But when I wipe it, just, you know, peels it off just like this. And if you have a little bit of residual, just take your pigment on a maker tip. And wipe one more time. There we go. Yeah, my manufacturer gave me that tip that it comes off with alcohol, and I was like, that's not helpful. But pigment is by far the highest level of alcohol out of everything that we use. Look at those brows. How easy was that? Can we just appreciate how fast and easy that was? Let's do a scan and decide if we need anything, any little perfecting work. Okay, so here is our super quick 2 passes. Just looking for tiny little gaps, anything we want to add. This underline is so sharp and beautiful. Let me make sure that this other side has that same awesome pop. I think it does. There's like one little piece of her natural hair that I might need to pluck. Do you see that? Let me do a little zoomy in here. Okay, I see a little section right in here in that front area. Do you see that? I'm just gonna add the teensiest bit. I'm gonna pluck away that one little hair. And other than that, actually, I'm really happy with this. Love that darkest brown. Beautiful. Still rich and warm. It doesn't look like almost black, but it's just really pigmented and dark. Love. This is after our first and second pass. There's a little bit of perfecting work I need to do right in here. And same thing, that exact same spot on this side. And other than that, I think these are done. So we'll just knock that out with our double row shader really quick. I do want to just do like a few teensy little prickies right here. On the underside. And then I'm gonna just really layer this pigment right in here. I do want to keep the center light, but I just want that bottom really full and like, you know what I mean? Sharp and gorgeous. I love how this is kind of softer and airier on the top. I want to keep that. Just want to make sure that underline is really sharp, but it looks fab. Just gonna do like here and maybe like 2 more pricks right in here. And right in here. Make sure this very tail is just crisp. Beautiful. That brow is gonna be done. We're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just gonna lift, and same thing, just a tiny bit more on this underline right here. And then just work on blending out that bottom line just a tiny bit more. And I'll do the same thing on this tail. See, there's like one little in between these 2 hairs. I just want to do 2 more pricks on right in there. And then just a super nice, clean, crisp. This is so much easier to do with a flat blade like this. Get those tails really nice and pointed. I don't know how people do that with a round shader, to be honest. And there we go. I'm gonna throw A and D on top of these for 2 minutes, wipe her off, show you her after. Thank you so much for watching this and for following. Come join my Facebook group, and gotta try out these pixel shaders, guys. They're just game changers. The best thing about all of this is the retention. I can't wait to show you her healed brows. Thank you for watching. I'll admit, with just my regular pixel shader, it was hard to pack in enough pigment to give that really sharp pop on that under edge. This double row shader is a game changer. And you can still see those little pixel strokes in the center and on those tails, and it keeps these looking so soft and natural. And here are our pixel strokes, just so you can see how clean these turned out. But again, since we followed her natural hair growth, they just look so natural. And our little bits on our tail and above here, just to give it that soft, natural look. But I'll admit, with my regular pixel shader, it is hard to pack in this amount of pigment to give that clean of a look. These double row shaders are game changers, but the most exciting part about these techniques is the retention. I truly cannot wait to show you how these beautiful brows are going to heal.